recording will be made for public record. So next item is Leslie on waste management. Can you bring us up to date, Leslie, on some of the changes and what's likely to be happening in the near future, and anything else that's relevant? And then if you're able to take a few questions, please.
Yes, good evening, councillors. Good evening, residents. Thanks for the invite this evening. If I can start with street cleansing and grounds maintenance. So you will have noticed that we made some savings through the spring in April, and that's leading us now to redesign our street cleansing service. For my crimes, I've been made head of service for street management, and that incorporates grounds maintenance and street cleansing. And the plan is, or the plan I'm working on, is to join both of the services up together so we can offer an all-round service. So we don't litter pick the grass after we've mowed it, we litter pick it before, that kind of scenario. And also I'm looking to get into some partnership working with our colleagues in housing, highways, and any other bereavement services, etc. So we can have a total street scene approach to our cleanliness in the city. I've moved away from refuse collection now, although I do still dabble in it. People ask me lots of questions, obviously, but predominantly board and bed street cleanser, and street cleansing is where I come from. But any queries around street cleansing, I'll be the person or the lead officer on that. Refuse collection, you probably hear lots in the press about fortnightly collections and food waste collections. That is being redesigned in the refuse collection service as we speak. There is a move. There is, Councillor?
Carry on, Les. I'm not sure who it was.
There is a move to bring in food waste, and it's by law that we need to do it. It's governmental legislation. We will do some trials. I don't know the trial awards, but they should go live from September onwards with a view of an incremental change across the city like we did with well bins through 25 into early 26. So what it will look like for most residents will be where you've now currently got a bin with a pod for your recycling, where your paper goes in the pod will be removed and you'll have a third bin, and that bin one bin for all your paper and card, and the other bin will be for all your plastics, metals, and tin cans and glass bottles, obviously. That will stop on a fortnightly collection regime. The residual waste, that will go to a weekly collection by and large across the city. It will probably be timed with the recycling alternate weeks, and obviously if you engage with our garden service, that will probably be on the alternate week as well. We're also looking to give all residents that can, again through government legislation, a food waste pod. So you'll have a sealed pod with a lid and a caddy for inside your kitchen, so you don't have to store it all in the house. So as you fill your caddy up, you can decant it into the pod. The food waste will be a weekly collection. It has been highlighted that contents of most people's bins is 30% of organic waste. So we're looking to get all that organic waste out. And I think there's a plan to biodigest it to generate electric and to feed back into the net with that. I think that's the plan. As I say, I'm not completely online with refuse collection at the moment, but that's how and where we are talking to move forward.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. I know there's some questions waiting from colleagues there. When did you say this extra bin and these food pods are going to be sent out to residents? What dates did you say that's going to happen?
So we're going to do some trials from September onwards. I'm not sure of the wards that have been highlighted. I think in the Penny Bar area, which is slightly away from yourselves, I think I'm advised that they'll be doing it in Birchfield as one of the trial wards. The plan is then to obviously get the bins, get the contract for the bin deliveries, etc., and that will be rolled out. Birmingham's too big to do it in one go. I don't know how the rollout will work or which step I'll be first, but it'd be like wheel bins when we rolled them out through 14, through 16. They'll pick a depot, they'll do an whole area, then move on to the next depot area, and I think it's going to take 9 to 12 months to do that. So it will be starting end of March 24, end of March 25, sorry, let's get my years right, and that'll run for 12 months into 26.
Thank you. Ewan's got his hand up first.
Thanks very much, David. I've got a couple of different questions. Do you want me to do grass first, or do you want me to do waste? What would be best?
It's all up to you, Councillor.
Okay, I'll go for waste because that was the last thing you were just talking about. On the first one there, could you? So, what are we going to get a weekly collection on, and what will be fortnightly? I'm sorry, that was you probably did explain it. I'm probably just making a mess of it.
So
you know,
it will be weekly for your food waste, and fortnightly for everything else.
Yeah. Okay. I did think it was going to be that way, but I just thought it was best to double check. I've noticed that we've been getting a few green waste dropped collections. I've been getting complaints from not only in Roughley, which is obviously my ward, but some people I know in Four Oaks as well have been speaking to me about their green waste collections being intermittent. I think is the best way to do it. And it was the depot weren't sure that the green waste weren't aware that green waste had been dropped, which I found more concerning because it sounded to me like the crew hadn't said that they dropped it. And obviously that's a paid service. And I know in Moor Hall, especially Row Allen, Essex, that area, which I think is the end of a route anyway. I'm talking more recycling and general waste here. Again, those routes have a tendency to get dropped, and then trying to find a date when someone's going to come back and make the collection. Sometimes you're told, oh, well, it'll be within 3 working days. That doesn't happen. And then you're up against a Friday. And then, find, well, no one's coming in on a weekend these days. So that means Monday. But then, of course, the collection's on a Tuesday. So it's really just a missed collection, So, that or a fortnightly collection from there. So I'm just really registering that unless you have any particular intel on it.
A bit of intel, if I can respond, Councillor. You may or may not know, in 2013, I think it was now, we got the money from Eddie Pickles from the government to roll out wheel bins, and we did that and bought a whole fleet of vehicles and the bins. Unfortunately, due to lots of reasons, we haven't replaced our fleet as much as we wanted to, so that fleet is old and tired, and it is letting us down. And I do know that the fleet management area are looking at some of our vehicles that are really old and unreliable to put an something interim in place until they get the new fleets. So we have got money to buy new fleets. It's got to go through the cabinet approvals, etc., and the spend approvals. But again, in line with the new services coming online, the plan is to also provide new fleets. So it is a bit difficult for us at the moment. If we do drop work, which I'm sure we don't want to do, we're trying to get it cleared as quickly as we possibly can. But that's all the intel I can give you. But and it's not a very good excuse, I'd probably say. But we are at the beck and call of an aged fleet, unfortunately.
Well, to be fair, it sounds the most realistic explanation I've had to date. So I'll thank you for that. The other one, just on the grass, and it's one probably that if you could just make a note of it, and I might ask Olive, Chief Exec of the Town Council, to speak to you because it'll probably need a bit of dual working. Sort of on the green area in between Shepherd's Pool Road and Little Sutton Road. So that's Shepherd's Pool Road and Little Sutton Road. There's like a public green open space, really nice piece of grass there. Initially there was on the edge of it there was going to be some wild flowers planted, but due to a breakdown I wouldn't say it was a breakdown in communication, due to user error, I think whoever was doing it from the manning the machine put it slap bang in the middle of the green area, where it wasn't supposed to be. It's under canopies of trees. The grass, the wildflowers were never going to grow there, and so we just turned it into a fantastic weed bed. So the town council paid for Verdi to come along and they put some I've forgotten the name of it now, but the thing that kills all the weeds basically, and then reseeded it. and then the grass got about 6 inches high, and for some reason I don't understand, when Birmingham came to cut the grass, they cut the grass everywhere but on that section. And then what happened was that now the weeds have come away again now, and they're over the top of the grass. And so that I mean, obviously the weeds shouldn't have come away. So there's something that needs to be looked at there. And then, but there's the problem is, why didn't BCC cut the grass? Because if they cut the grass, that wouldn't have happened. And I may need to, if you're the right person to speak to, I might ask Olive to give you a call or something, just so that, because I think it'll need a bit of joined up working between the two of us, that we're probably going to have to sort the weeds out again, and then just make sure that next time the grass has every chance to take hold again, so that it gets returned back to the way that it was. Am I making sense here? Was this sounding very confusing?
No, completely, Councillor. Drop me the details or give Olive to give me a call. I'm sure we can work something to get it back to where it should be and what it looks like, or what it should look like. Sorry.
Yeah, it's perfect. Thanks, Les. Really appreciate it. Thanks, David.
Thank you. I can't see any other questions for Leslie. So in the absence of any other questions, I've got a few for you. Thomas de Beaucamp Lane and Tudor Road areas in Sutton Coldfield, household waste and recycling not collected. I'm getting repeated concerns from residents in Tudor Road on the same subject. Similarly, Kennedy Close, I haven't got any outstanding on Kennedy Close at the moment, but that's a regular one that's coming up. And street cleaning around the town centre, in particular in Wall Road, I get a lot of concerns from residents there. Now, I guess a lot of that's down to parked cars, so I don't know if you can take away the non-collected areas and maybe let me know what's going to happen with those. I've emailed officers earlier about that, but I'm just more concerned about how we can move forward to get the town cleaner in the future, and if there's anything more you can do on that front.
Yes, Councillor, definitely. Part of my remit now is to reshape our street cleansing service. That we are completely joined up, and as I say, when I talk total street scene now, it might be an housing property or a block of flats or a walk-up block. It could be some EDD land, it could be street cleansing work. It could be where we join up with highways departments, and you're quite right, Wall Road, it's always parked up. I want to get to a position where we can do something proactive there that gives it a deep clean and then keeps on top of it. So I'm sure we're running with less resource than what we've always had, or I've had for a long time. And it's about working a bit smarter, a bit cleverer, and using all our partners, housing, they've got a role to play. Private landlords have got a role to play. There's many different areas that I'm going to partnership work with, so we all join up and play that role that we all should to add to that total street scene. And Kennedy, Tudor, it's I think I might have that on my gravestone, because we seem to hear Tudor too much, Tudor Road, about miscollection. So I would definitely have a discussion with the depot about that. But Thomas Beaucamp and Kennedy, let me speak to them and see what's going wrong there.
Well, I've got very active resident in Tudor Road, but it's the same. I think the same route, shall I say, as Thomas de Beaucamp, really.
Yeah.
It's just one area that, for whatever reason, I don't know if the vehicle just breaks down before it gets there or what. It's just constantly problems. But so thank you very much for that. I can't see any questions from any residents. Am I right in that there's no resident questions for him? No. Okay. Thank you very much, Leslie, for coming to the meeting for us, and appreciate the information. Please share with us when you know the outcomes of these pilots on these food waste and all of that, because we'd be interested to hear when we're going to get the benefits out in Sutton.
Yes, we'll do, councillors, definitely. And any future meetings, if you need me to attend, more than happy to. Just drop me an invite.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Les.
Yeah, thanks all. Thanks, councillors. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us nicely on to Carl. It's a bit earlier for you than our normal meeting, so are you okay to share with us what you've been up to since we last saw you?
Okay, yes, absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Since our last meeting, obviously we haven't done too much following the last update, just finishing the works from last year's funding, in Trinity that was finished installing the bollards on Rectory Road and Bedford Road to address some of the footway parking issues around Good Hope Hospital. I've also done the drop curbs on Holland Road, just down from the cinema, to provide accessible route for wheelchair, mobility scooter users, etc. Enforcement has been a big issue, parking on yellow lines and parking for longer than they should be. Motorists should be in 1 and 2 hour waiting bays. So we've had a lot of communication with our parking enforcement team, because residents have been raising that around Anchorage Road, Rockingham Gardens, Midland Drive, Ryland Road. Lots and lots of roads appear to be suffering with parking issues where we've already got restrictions. So we've been in touch with our parking enforcement, and also Tudor Road, funny enough. So hopefully we can get some more enforcement around those areas. With regard to this year's funding, although we're in June, we are still awaiting all of the capital programme to be approved. I believe it should be this month. For us, our main interest and focus will be the replacement to the ward minor transport measures, which we've had for a number of years, where there was an amount allocated to each ward. The replacement to that, very briefly, was the Healthy Streets Fund. That has now changed a couple of weeks ago to the Environment and Transport Neighbourhood Fund. Some of the money within that, it has now been agreed, will go to replacing older sodium type lamp columns and replacing those with LED columns, the new columns. That will, in a way, it's kind of free to do the replacement because it's capital funded, it's separate money, but then it's a saving because the city will have the energy cost saving. So there's a longer term benefit. We need to then see, when the capital programme signed off, how much of the fund is then rolled out to the wards. We need to be fully appraised and understand what that money can go to, because a previous Healthy Streets Fund was perhaps more aligned to Brumbreath's type of funding with assessments, as opposed to the way we operated ward minor transport measures funding, which was much more around tackling the issues, whatever they were, relating to, parking, bollards, guardrails, traffic calming, yellow lines. We just need to make sure the new capital budget is has got those same parameters, that we can spend it on that. So then once that's signed off and once PERDA's out the way, we'll have conversations with all the councillors around the priorities, the amount of money and what we can afford to do. That applies to all wards, not just Trinity, of course. Some local things on One Network, just the most sort of up to date. One Network is where all sort of road closures, road works and that are put on now, all the notified works, all the permit and permitted works. And looking on that, we have Manor Road to be closed from Brassington Avenue to Woodland Rise for some cadence gas works. That's from the 10th of June to the 9th of August, so it's just started, but it's ongoing for a couple of months. There will also be some temporary signals on Clifton Road near to Manor Road, linked to that for some cadent works. A smaller time frame though, 11 days from 11th of June to the 21st of June. And then on Reddycap Hill, there's some temporary signals by Mount View, some National Grid works. They should finish tomorrow, all being well. If not already, I haven't been up there today. That's a quick roundup in Trinity, but I can come back to that if there's any questions. Regarding Sutton Roughley, Everything I said about the Environment and Transport Neighbourhood Fund applies, and we'll sit down with you, Councillor Mackey, once we know everything, and then go through what money you have, what it can be spent on, and what everything costs, and what your priorities are. But in the meantime, we did which I probably mentioned last time, we did a successful Brumbreeze scheme on Slade Road for verge protection measures for the double curbing on the grass verge, and we've forgive the pun, we've driven the vehicles off the grass verge, and hopefully they'll stay off. Weeford Road, in conjunction with Sutton Town Council and last year's Ward Minor Transport Measures funding, we did a new footway, a significant brand new footway along there, which hopefully has been well received. We did some minor bits and pieces, 20 mile an hour roundel painted on Dutton Lane, and junction warning signs erected on Weeford Road. Little Sutton Road, we're in the early stages. We've had petitions come in, we've had meetings, requests to replace and upgrade the existing pedestrian refuge just by where Slade Road meets Little Sutton Road at Little Sutton Lane by the Fox Pub, to replace that pedestrian refuge with a zebra crossing. It's early days. We have done an initial informal consultation with a large number of residents around the area, just to sort of get feedback, get opinion. Is it what people want? We've included the businesses, shops, a pub, etc. Feedback has come back extremely positive, although the businesses themselves, which you could argue are directly affected, haven't responded. But nevertheless, we have asked everybody's opinion. Once we know the full response, and once PERD has finished, we'll sit down with you, Councillor Mackey, go through everything, and then obviously it's the battle then to try and identify quite significant funding to replace everything that's there and alter the highway, and the infrastructure around there to create a zebra crossing. So we're some way off that yet, but hopefully that's something we'll keep pursuing. The only road affected that I'm aware of for any closure and works is actually not quite in your area. It's Caraway Head. But of course, for people who know it, it's a top of Slade Road, but it's 100 metres outside of the ward and of Birmingham in actual fact. But it's quite a significant route that people take, and leads you up towards Bassett's Pole and the Harvester there. That's closed for surface dressing between the 10th of June and the 15th, between 7 a.m. 8 p.m. So almost finished. I did come that way Monday and I wasn't affected by it, so we'll see how that goes. I think that's sort of a quick roundup of both wards, what we've done, where we're at, and what we're looking to do in the future, but happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Carl. I can know there's a number of questions waiting. I think Michael was first to get his hand up. So Michael, if you want to go first, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm a resident of Rockingham Gardens, so I expect you can guess what's coming next.
I can.
I'm encouraged by your words, but unfortunately your enforcement department or officers don't seem to put words into action. And if you'd like to have a copy of this, these are 19 vehicles last Friday parked on single yellow lines, double yellow lines, the brow of a hill, on a bend, half on the pavement. Now, they're totally undisciplined and they couldn't care a kipper about what goes on because your enforcement officers are not there. I know the mosque have tried to suggest to their parishioners that they do obey the rules, but even then when they come down, and we as residents have indicated, look, you're parking on a single yellow line, these motorists are either playing very clever or totally ignorant, because they say, well, what does a single yellow line mean? we've been told by the mosque not to park on double yellow lines. So there's a particular problem. But the difficulty really is that in this sort of scenario, they all come rushing down at the last minute. They treat the place like a road track, and it's absolute hell and very, very dangerous, particularly when they park at the top of the road by the junction. Now,
Yes.
I'm old enough to believe that the highway code has not changed since I was learning to drive. You don't park on the brow of a hill. You don't park half on the pavement. You don't park half on a bend or anything like that. So all I'm saying, Mr. Randall, really is, can you please put a bomb under your enforcement officers, because it is getting from bad to worse. Ramadan was absolute nightmare. It really was, left, right and centre. And until the parishioners realise that there's an issue, then it's going to carry on forever and a day. Sadly, of course, they come to worship at the last minute. And
Yes.
they rush in, they dial on their phone, where's the nearest mosque? We've had Uber drivers there, taxi drivers, and on one occasion, a driving instructor. And I said to him, I admire your religious conviction, which is perhaps a little bit better than mine, but I don't admire your ability in your parking. To which he said, why? I said, well, you're a driving instructor, you should know better. Anyway, you've got the message. I can't say any more. I could use a few more adjectives, but I won't. But please, can you do something? Because everybody down our way is tearing their hair out. Thanks a lot.
I do sympathise and I do understand. I've attended previous meetings and I think yourself was there, Michael. I did write to our parking enforcement last year, and they actually did a dedicated 6-week purge, which surprised me. That was quite a resource in one road when they're spread out over the whole of Birmingham. And it did have an impact. It did make a difference, and some residents did feedback to the town council and to councillors that it had made a difference. But it is a battle that I understand. You know, it's every Friday, and I sympathise with enforcement because, you know, it's also every school morning and every school afternoon. It's every hospital, it's every shopping centre. It's actually such a huge problem. You know, it is extremely difficult. If the road didn't have restrictions, then it'd be a case of battling for the funding to get the restrictions. But, you know, I did the restrictions many years ago, so I know full well exactly what you've got in the road. And it's frustrating that, you know, enforcement can't do as much as we would like to do, but I will keep on to them. Some things enforcement can't do. I'll just say very quickly. Enforcement can take action, issue a penalty charge notice to anyone parked on a single yellow line in breach of what the plate says. So, for example, if it's no parking 8 till 6 and they're parking 8 till 6, they can receive a penalty charge notice. If they park on the single yellow line outside of that or the permitted days, then that's fine.
Yeah,
if they're parking on the footway or half on the footway, it's a police matter, unless there are lines on the road that they're in breach of. So if there's no lines at all, but they're parking on a brow of a hill within 10 metres of a junction, or half or fully on the footpath, the city council have no powers on those 3 particular, you know, regards. I know the police got them to 10 today, and they're based directly opposite or next door, depending how you look at the situation. So there are 3 particular things we can't deal with, but we certainly can. Parking can deal with breaches of the single or double yellow line parking.
Even if they're parked half on the pavement over a yellow line, presumably.
Yes, if they're parked fully on a pavement, the yellow line extends virtually to back of footway.
Right.
So yes, they will be in breach of the same line.
I don't know who funds the enforcement officers, whether or not they're private contractors. But with 19 vehicles at £50 a go, that's £950, which I would have thought would have paid for something with a profit on top.
It's £70 a penalty charge notice.
Oh, it's even better then, isn't it?
May have even gone up. We've just extended the contract. Birmingham City Council operate the contract with a private company called NSL, and they have officers called civil enforcement officers, CEOs, that work for them in line with the contract that they've been awarded. I think it's really, the city council can't make a profit. We have to and should declare, a balanced budget, so that they're not there to, make money, earn bonuses. I do have some sympathy. I've been out probably hundreds of times with civil enforcement officers on joint exercises or previous town council funded exercises, and with the police. And you probably wouldn't be surprised living there and seeing what you see, but we're always surprised with the level of either stupidity or resentment or aggression that we get from these people, meaning anybody.
Yeah.
Once you speak to somebody in breach of the lines or about to issue a penalty charge notice, I've been shoulder barged, threatened, spat at. I was driven at outside St Joseph's School because I was taking a photo of the registration. Some people, it can be a very difficult situation.
Well, sadly, we do live in a little bit of an undisciplined society. I mean, how about, they put up these cardboard cutouts of police with enforcement cameras. How about a cardboard cutout of an enforcement officer? Anyway, I'll rest my case. I hear that you're doing your very best. I'm taking up too much of your time, but thank you for the hearing.
Thank you, Michael, for the question, because I thought that had been raised and Ollie was amenable to doing more on that one, Carl. So if we can see what we can do, because the people who are coming to the Mossad there are not people necessarily living in Sutton. They're going to be different people every time, causing a nuisance to residents. So it does need to be, I think, over a longer period of time, and it needs to be, no prisoners taken, please. And I don't know if we need to have another meeting with the Mossad so that, people haven't got to come in late. They don't get let in and have to go somewhere else. But okay, so thank you, Michael, for that. Mary, did you have a question? Because I wasn't sure if your arm was up.
Yes. First of all, can you hear me, David?
Yes.
You can. That's good. The signal's gone down in the house, so I've had to step outside, and I'm in sleepy Somerset at the moment, so forgive me.
Okay.
I think Carl has explained the situation about the parking enforcement. It's a pity that the police aren't able to be with us this evening, but we get cars around the Gerard Drive area, and thank you again for your double yellows, Carl. They tend to be on single lines. Some cars are left there for 6 or 7 weeks while people go away, and as long as they're taxed and insured, the police don't seem to have any powers. I don't know if you can comment on that.
Are they parked on the lines or in the gaps that we left?
On the lines. It's right up at the top, actually. It's more North Drive and also the side roads.
On the lines, that would be the city council. And okay. if anybody went online and reported an illegally parked vehicle, I've been assisting residents in Belwell Drive and Belwell Lane in Mere Green, where we've just finished a consultation on an amendment to the lines there, where we're adding some and taking some away and changing things. And they often report there's a limited waiting bay. I think it's a 1 hour parking in Belwell Drive. They've often reported, an Audi or a this or that parked there for a week. And we have had some success in if someone's going to park for that long, then we're going to get them. Just tell us early enough. It's already been there a day or 2 days. I can ask NSL to go out the next day. And if they're planning on leaving it there a week, then yes, we will be able to get a fine to them.
Thanks, Carl. I suppose the knowledge is that leaving it there and getting a fine is cheaper than putting it in a car park, obviously.
You're not wrong there. I'm looking to park at Birmingham Airport for September for my holiday, and it's over £200. Where do you say I could leave it?
And Mary, just
Yeah,
for
exactly.
just for information, can I just say some other information that you might not be aware of? A couple of 3 weeks ago, I had a meeting with Good Hope Hospital, and you'll probably be aware that they have increased the level of enforcement on their site through very dangerous parking that's been happening there, and that's bumped people off their site to elsewhere, and that's caused pressure on a lot of the roads around the hospital. So when I had the meeting with them, and they're doing an exercise to try and encourage more of their staff to use the pay and display parking and bus service that they provide for free near Sutton station, because the take-up on the bus is very light. They're also consulting their staff to see what else they can do, and they're also consulting to see if they can bring into effect a multi-storey car park that was approved some years ago but didn't happen, but they're now looking at that again as well as another option. So there are moves afoot there, but if anyone does see a car where you've just identified to Carl for a period of time, please ask them to send me an email and I'll report it on as well, just to keep the pressure on.
No, that's excellent. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
I think wasn't the multi-storey objected to by residents.
Yeah, but
so
it got approved, but they're looking at doing another one somewhere else, and they're looking at a piece of land that they lease from the cemetery to see if they can use that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Before I get blown away into oblivion, somewhere out across the Bristol Channel, just one word, Carl: potholes.
Okay.
Any update on potholes?
We're
becoming ever so attached to them. We're thinking of planting them. I've got some nice geraniums that would look lovely.
I've reported loads in Rectory Road, and they're not of a deep enough standard, unfortunately, for Keir to do anything about them. That's the story I keep being told, which is really frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, we are, I say we, I'm not part of maintenance, but of course I'm heavily involved and I report things and I work closely with my colleague Keith at Kia, and we are trying to keep the roads safe. Kia have a criteria they have to work to, and if, as Councillor Pears said, if a pothole isn't deep enough, it won't be attended to. If it is deep enough, then there's a response time, which could be X amount of weeks before they attend. If it's deep enough that they attend straight away, then the follow-up permanent repair, of course, is a few months after that again. So I can only encourage everybody to report them, whether to your councillor, to myself, or direct on, Brum accounts or whatever, and they'll be inspected, because potholes, even if Kia inspect and say it's not deep enough, that can change overnight with volumes of traffic and heavy traffic, and it can be deeper and qualify within a matter of days. So can only encourage people to keep reporting them.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I nearly fell down one at the National Arboretum a few weeks ago, so I know there are areas that are worse than ours, but thank you very much. Thanks, David.
Okay. Can I just say, Councillor Pears, you reminded me in your ward about Good Hope. I have also liaised with Good Hope and agreed to them having 90. They've taken up 90 car park permits on our car parks spread out in Sutton Coalfield. That should, over time, a little bit alleviate some of the parking problems around the hospital, because at the moment, with the hospital, with the red lines and the ANPR and enforcing what's there, that has driven staff and others out onto the roads that wasn't there before. So these 90 permits hopefully will make a difference over time. As you mentioned, they are running the shuttle bus. I also wanted to mention quickly, it only started this week. I've been having conversations with the Cottage Hospital, with the NHS staff, administrative people there, about, as you're probably aware, that they're going to renovate, rebuild something with the Cottage Hospital, bring it up to a new facility there. But what they want to do is continue running services. So they've put a planning application in, and we've agreed that they can operate on Duke Street car park in time. On 22 spaces, there'll be fenced off for the continuation of patient services while works on the cottage hospital take place. Meetings are ongoing as to when they'll start, and when they do start, it'll be probably in excess of 12 months due to the development or redevelopment of the cottage hospital. So yeah, I did forget to mention that.
Okay, thank you, Carl. And I'm going to bring you in because he's been waiting ever so patiently in a second. Though the point on that, what you just said there, and the point about the temporary lights on Clifton Road and wherever else it was, can you drop me an email with those? Because I just want to put them out there for people to know. And Reddycap Hill, I've seen those lights today. There's no work happening on the road, so I'm jolly good they're coming down tomorrow because it's causing mayhem. So, Ewan, over to you.
Thanks very much, David. I'm obviously going to talk about Roughley, but I'll try and talk about it in a way that's of interest to everyone else. But the footpath you were talking about there, that's gone down really well. The residents and everyone who use it are really, really pleased with it. And I won't give the numbers out, but I think it's probably worth saying that these infrastructure products, they cost big money, don't they? They really do cost a lot of money. And so I'm pleased to see that it was installed to such a high standard and that so far so good, no problems on that. The curbing you referred to, that's actually exceeded my expectations. You know, you put these things in hope as much as in belief, and not only of the cars themselves not actually parking on the, because there is gaps because you've got to leave them for the trees and the roots and things like that.
Yes.
I mean, you'd have to be really taking the mick to get your car on there, but you could do it if you were, because there was commercial vans and vehicles parking on there. You know, removal van had taken to parking on there, and the residents were complaining about it. But even further down where we haven't put the curbing, I noticed that some of the 4x4s aren't parking on the grass now, and that's so that, I mean, that's a really, really good result, and the residents are really, really pleased. Again, it's a scary amount of money that it cost. Right now, to put that curbing in, I won't say what it is, but you'd shake your head in disbelief to see what it was. But I tell you what, really good quality job. The trees there have been unaffected. I'm really, really pleased about it. I did a speed watch just next to there, sort of with Four Oaks Police, just earlier this week, and they sort of merge into one, don't they? But sort of when you were talking about reaction to what happens, which I have seen, I think we have been told to go forth and multiply when we've been doing the double yellow line parking, and sometimes it's the sweetest innocent looking face that comes out with the worst profanity, isn't it? But sometimes, but we've had that again doing the speed watch. You know, there was a number of Uber drivers and people like that came over, obviously trying to negotiate their way out of it. But there was someone who walked past us, and bearing in mind that we're talking to the police officer, not to me, I thought they were pushing their luck somewhat regarding sort of, you know, these are vehicles that are speeding well above the speed limit. We're not talking 1 or 2 miles an hour here. And we're in a residential area, you know, and just down the road from that spot is where we're talking about putting the crossing into over to from the refuge, because when you saw it there, we're looking for parents to be able to walk to school or walking to the mosque or somewhere like that, because we don't want them going everywhere, parking their cars and causing loads of problems. And obviously some of these refuges don't take into account that, you know, if you've got a child with a bicycle, the bicycle itself needs to be protected. And, you know, the refuge gives you, you're in the middle of the road, but you've still got to get over half the road. Yes. And, you know, so again, as you say, it's another costly project, but I know it'd be a battle to get it, but I think we have an idea up our sleeve, don't we, Carl? So hopefully we'll have some positive news next time around. I was pleased about the positive nature that everyone's taken that, because I think it's a benefit for the shops as well, because more people will walk to the shops, I think, because they can go across the crossing. But on the tarmac, on the tarmac, one thing I'll mention which is probably a bit boring, but has a lot to do with it, was that until recently there was a PFI arrangement with the government where they would put 50 million into the roads and the council would put 50 million into the roads. There was, because of some of the problems with A.O.B that went to Kia on a temporary contract, etc. What then happened was that the government decided that it had been going on for too long and it needed to come off the books now, because ultimately they've been paying a lot of money to the merchant banks, because that's how this PFI works, isn't it? You know, they make some money out of it. So what the government have done is they stopped the PFI, and then they just put the 50 million in direct to the council, rather than paying the rather than going through the overall company. The council appealed this, and it's gone to a judicial review because they wanted to stay with the PFI. To be fair to the council, for the certainty, because obviously the government was 50 million would be an annual arrangement, because that's how council's funding works, where of course the PFI is nailed on for the rest of the years. Now, we're in a very interesting situation here, because the council have appealed that, and they want to keep the 50 million a year going, 50 million from the government and 50 for themselves. But their budget takes 12 million pounds a year out of the highways this year. So if they win their PFI, you're in a situation where it's going to cause them a problem, because they're going to have to find another 12 million pounds. But I do wonder if this 12 million pounds is another reason why some of the potholes are starting to appear and lasting for a little bit longer. And I've got a number of roads myself. Lindridge Road is the worst one. Carl and I were there the other week looking at it. The state of it was something that Amy resurfaced within the PFI, and it's already failing. And again, I think you said to redo that again is about a couple of million, I think you felt it might be. There's obviously a lot of, it depends how you do it, whether you dress the top or you go down to the bottom, but it's a large amount of money. But some of the potholes there we noticed weren't deep enough, as David alluded to, with potholes. But then when we looked really closely at it, it's because Amy hadn't put enough tarmac on the top, because, you know, you're down to actually the base course of the foundation of the road. Probably not in, and you get this thing called crocodiling, where it looks like a crocodile's back. And I've become a bit anal now, because as I was going around looking at, I've been doing out and about, and I looked at Worcester Lane today, which was another one. I think Amy did that there, and I noticed there's a number of potholes there that I've been told aren't going to be filled because it's not deep enough, because they're not deep enough. But when I'm looking at it, all that top dressing of tarmac's come off. So it'll never be deep enough until it actually starts wearing out the base course. And that's a game on, which is a road that's close to David's heart, Harvest Fields Way. That's another one there where I'm regularly told it's not deep enough, but there's the necessary amount of tarmac sat on top of the base course is not there. So, I mean, I don't know what we're going to do. Is there's just the top course of tarmac's going to be worn away, and we'll just be driving on the undressed road. You know, the manhole covers could be a problem after a while if that happens. I can believe you'll step in before that point, but you know the point that I'm trying to make, that it's a bit disingenuous to say it's not there. I mean, I know that Amy bought their way out of the contract, but and I know it was tens of millions that they used to buy themselves out of the contract. But at the end of the day, there's a massive bill being left for the council here, because some of these, I'm not an engineer, so I've got to be absolutely clear about that. But to me, some of these resurfacing jobs are failures. They're not good enough. I don't. You can give a professional opinion, whilst I'm probably libeling Amy or slandering them. But anyway, what's your view on it, Carl?
I mean, one of the reasons the Amy contract ended was poor performance identified, incorrect materials. There was a whole series of reasons, and I think that the buyout, if that's what it's called, it was, you know, it was extraordinary. It could have been 200 million or something. It was, you know, a huge sum of money. And yes, one of the things we identified on Lindridge Road, where Kia are saying it's a rough surface, it's uncomfortable, but it's not deep. But the reason it wasn't deep is because there was only 20 to 30 millimeters of surface course, when perhaps on a road like that there should have been 40. So you're right what you're saying. It's a catch-22, isn't it? And one of the ways that has been addressed in the past, not necessarily for this reason, but you know, curbs in general have a 125mm height, 5-inch curb face, and what has been done in the past is planed off the surface 20, 25, 30 millimeters, raise the ironwork, and then put a thicker surface on top. So there are options open, but it depends on what money's available to do these works. Outcome of the judicial review, it's taken place, but I don't believe we've had the result yet from the judge. So it's about how much, I imagine we're planning for the worst case scenario, and then if things improve, then the criteria can be looked at against the amount of money available. But of course, as time goes on, there's additional deterioration, isn't there? If all we're trying to do is keep things safe, we're not really investing in wholesale resurfacing, are we, at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it? Birmingham City Council have taken out judicial review that they probably hope they're going to lose. But the longer it goes on, it looks like they're probably going to win it. Obviously, no one knows. But if they were going, if I can't see what the judge is thinking about if he's not going to say that they're right. And the irony is that we've got a general election coming up in a minute, of which, if you believe the polls, you've got a situation that if there is a change of government, if there is a change of government, they've made it quite clear what their view on the PFI is. So you could find that the PFI may be reinstated. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of jumps and skips to get to that stage, but and then there's £12 million coming back into the roads, which means street scene or whatever the right department is that cover the roads has got to find another £12 million worth of savings that isn't coming off the roads, which of course that's a nightmare for us all, isn't it? Really, because that's what we all interact with and see every day. So it's probably a bit more details than a ward meeting normally gets, but it's a backdrop as to why things like the TROs for parking enforcement, for potholes and things aren't quite being what we'd expect them to be, as were, say, 5-10 years ago, something like that, in my opinion, anyway. Sorry, David, go for it, mate.
Okay, thank you very much. We got some nitty-gritty there, didn't we? Thank you very much. Are there any residents' questions for Carl at all? Okay, Carl, thanks for feeding back about the Cottage Hospital and Good Hope. Just the other thing I need to say with it, Good Hope, they've got about 1,000 staff still waiting permits to park on their sites. So I think this is going to be with us for quite a while longer. So thanks for everything that you've done there. So I can't see any more questions for you, Carl. So thanks for your input today and answering them all to the best of your ability. And please do keep on top of those enforcement ones. I know you're probably sick to death of all the emails I keep sending you on that. And thanks for your attendance tonight. So that brings us on to
thank you very much.
Any other business? Has anyone got any other business? I can see Michael waving his hand at me. Does that mean no or yes? No. Okay, thank you. Ewan, have you got anything else?
No, thankfully, I've said my bit now, so you can all do something else.
Thank you very much. So that means that the meeting has come to an end. I would like to formally thank Leslie, who has been our ward support officer now for quite some time. Leslie, as some of you might know or might not know, is leaving the council shortly. So Leslie, thank you very much for your help and support over the time we've been together.
Thanks,
if we were in the room, we'd be giving you a round of applause to thank you, but it's less easy to do online. So thank you very much. And then the last bit is the date of the next meeting, which I suspect is that September. Have you got it handy, Leslie? The next meeting?
Well, that's over to Preeti. Preeti, have you got the date to hand? Preeti will be taking that next meeting. I think it might be somewhere on Teams. Did you agree them about 3 weeks ago? Yes, they've all been agreed.
Yeah. So I think it's about the 11th of September or somewhere around there, I think, anyway. But we'll let everyone know who's been and joined us tonight. So thank you very much for your attention. And good luck, Leslie.
Right. Bye, okay. Thanks. Good night.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
You're welcome.
Thanks all very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.